Okay, so this is my food finder app. This is the long video, and if I didn't make it clear earlier, my name is Rhodes, advanced offering. So basically, what I want to do first is just explain what I've done. Um, I've used NS Basic program I used before for the presentation because I know a lot about it and stuff. Right. So this is my first form. This is the form that people are presented with at the start. It's got the drop-down box and three buttons. Basically, the drop-down box has information about what people can search for, So it's like default values Greg's, but it's got Indian, Italian, Chinese, things like that. When you've made a selection, you click Find Food, and then it will execute the search and also update the map. The map will start showing the markers, and the local search will do exactly what you expected it to do. It will bring up a list of the addresses of places and their telephone numbers if they have one, and names, because like if you search for Italian, it's going to be doing lots of different names. Search for Greg's, it's just going to be full of Greg's. So, yeah, and when you click on the Read Reviews button, this takes you to a menu page, which I'll show you in a minute. The food news takes you to a different page, which has RSS feature in it. Okay, this is the Read Reviews page. Basically, this is just a menu page with two buttons and a home button, which will take you back home. You can click Submit Review or View Reviews. So, if the user clicks on Submit a Review, it will take them to this page. And it's got three text boxes, and basically you fill in your name, place, and comment, and then scroll down to the bottom, there's some buttons. You click Submit, and it actually calls PHP from the Apache server I've created. And basically it loads in the information from them three text boxes and puts it into an SQL database I've designed. There's also a clear button. Basically what that does is exactly what you'd expect. If you put in information in those boxes and you don't want it there anymore, it will clear the text boxes. Also, when the PHP is called back from the submit button, it takes you back to this form and also loads this form, this exact place where you were. And it also shows a message box when you do and says, one record successfully added. If it does not, if there's an error or something, then it will actually show a message box explaining the error as well. Also, again, there's a home button, so you can go back. Okay, so we've gone back to the Read Reviews page. What happens now when the user clicks on the View Reviews page is they're shown with this one. Kind of looks a bit blank at the moment, but that's just because the user hasn't called anything yet. When they click on the View button, the PHP is called, and that goes to the SQL database you created earlier, and where the user submitted the form earlier, and it brings it back into here, and it loads this form, again, but this time it's got a table inside it, and it's got all the data from that SQL database from the table comments. This is the last form in my app. It's kind of a simple app, there's only like 4 forms. But what this one is when you click on the newsfeed off the homepage button, this is the form that's shown there. Basically, this is just a label. It's got a home button at the bottom. Scroll down. Yep. And it's got a HTML view in the middle of the page with an RSS widget in it. The widget was generated using the Google website, and also the actual newsfeed, I've decided to use the BBC Good Food one because I think it fits in well with the app in general, So that's pretty much this page. Okay, so you've seen my app and stuff and seen how it works, and I've used NS Basic. What I'm going to do now is go into a bit more about what I've actually done. I've used something I've never used before, which is PHP and Apache, and also MySQL. Basically, them three together make all the server-side scripting work, and I'm not sure if any other students have used it before, but I've decided to use XAMPP. I tried installing it before, and it didn't really go very well, so I used XAMPP because it's a simple installer, and like I say, it's also got like FileZilla in there. Okay, so XAMPP is installed like a local host server, so you can open up Internet Explorer and go into localhost XAMPP, and then you've got all your configuration files in here. It looks really complicated, but go into the configuration. Right, basically what's in here, this is where like my database is stored and all the MySQL stuff. So as you can see, I'm going into the food finder database. In the comments table, you can actually see what people have submitted so far. Like Ash Rhodes, which is what I submitted, Chris has submitted some files, and Paul. So I'll close this down. Okay, so last thing I'm going to do, well, I was planning on going through the code as well a bit, but if I'd show you like where all my files are actually saved within XAMPP and how it actually works. Basically, they're in HTC docs, and this, you know, when you put them in here, that's what makes it possible to load them from anywhere in the world. You know, I've had to port forward, port 8 it, but that's just some configuration files and stuff that I've had to mess around with. And it's in assignment 2. And these are all the files and stuff. And you know, when you actually go on your web browser and stuff, these are all the files that it's calling. And the home page is foodapp.html, and then it calls all the other forms and stuff, you know. You've got the PHP in here, the show PHP, which I'll just open up. Let's go to the insert one as well, which I'll also show you. It just takes a while to load. Right, okay, this is the insert PHP. This is for the comments form, you know, the one where they actually submit things from the text boxes. What this does is it gets all the information from the text boxes, puts it into the SQL database. Okay, like insert into comments, name, place, comment, value, $, post, name. What the $, and post is when you actually submit a form in PHP. Just bring it up. Yeah, so when you actually submit a form in PHP, you need to set it to post or get. Get is usually for a little amount of information, like a few letters or so. Post is for more characters, and seeing as how I had like 3 different text boxes, I thought safe bet, use post. Basically, there's a button on here, go into the code, which, when it gets through some variables, comment.submit, and that submits the form to the PHP. And if we go in here, you see the URL is insert.php. So when I submit a form, it submits it to the insert PHP from this form. Also, I just wanted to explain this bit here. I had a problem before when I originally created the first prototype of this program, but people didn't have to put information in any of the text boxes and they could still submit an entry into the database. What this does here is it searches to see if any of the boxes are blank. If they are, it will not submit the comments, so therefore, you know, it doesn't wreck my database. So the last thing I'm going to do for this long video is go through the code. You've seen the app. I've explained a bit about XAMPP and Apache and MySQL and PHP and all that stuff. So I'm going to go take you through the code I actually have in my app. I'll just open it up. Okay, firstly, you know on the home page where there's all the Google Maps features and Google Local Search. Just go there. Right, okay, this bit, that's actually used using JavaScript, and the thing is, this application actually has like 4 different programming languages inside it. It's got HTML, PHP, Visual Basic, and also JavaScript. And the JavaScript bit is basically so I can get all the Google APIs to work, and this is this bit here. Okay, so like you see at the start, we load the maps, the search, the elements, and elements is basically just so we can get specific search, which is the local search. And the local search is just the businesses, which is what I really need for my app. All this code is really kind of like Google related as well. And then we have this stuff down here. Now what this does is it actually gets the current location of the mobile phone and uses that to do the Google Maps thing and, you know, the local search thing. But also because I understand that like not everyone has a phone that can have GPS all the time, or they might be using it in a web browser that doesn't support GPS. So I've added this little bit of code as well that basically says, you know, if the phone is unable or device is unable to get a GPS coordinates, it uses these ones. What they are, that actually defaults to Huddersfield, the centre of Huddersfield. So if we go back into the app at the moment, because it's not loaded up fully, you'll notice it's actually loading Huddersfield. So that's that bit. The actual code on Form 1 as well, that's kind of basic stuff. Essentially, it's just, you know, to navigate around the app and stuff, and it closes home and opens up menu, so the same form is being the same page is being displayed all the time, but the form's changing and like hiding and then showing and stuff. Also, there's button 1 on click. Basically, that calls the JavaScript function I've just explained, and the selected one.selected item is that Dropbox. So what that does is it gets the value of the drop-down box and puts it into the local search and runs the search. That's essentially how like the main feature works. I'll just go to the news page. Right, okay. Code on that's pretty simple as well. That I think it was just to have one button, and all it does is just navigates to back to home. Okay. And there's the comments page. Right, okay, this takes a bit of explaining. On the button 4 on click, I'm not sure if I've explained that before, but basically that them 3 if statements basically make it so it won't break my database, and you can submit a form with blank fields. So, okay, and this submain, basically this is what arranges all the PHP side scripting. It's the way PHP works in my app and stuff. It's really hard to call back to a specific app and get it to do a specific thing. So what I've done is put some data into the URL address bar, and then this form basically manages that and does, you know, the function with it. If you look there at the moment, what it's actually doing is storing HTML table border, and that actually links to a separate form. All my like PHP side stuff with the URL parameters are in this function. So this also deals with actually submitting a form and viewing it, but you know, when things are inside the URL parameter, so it's after you've clicked the submit button. Basically what it does is it checks the page and checks if there's anything in the URL that it can use, and if it finds it, then it will run this form. And again, here we've got the button 8, which is the clear button, and that's pretty simple. All it does is it just wipes them 3 boxes. And there's this one here, button 7. All that does is just take you back to the home page. So I don't think there's any more complicated code in my app. It's just, yeah, that submits the view button, which I explained earlier, and this one just redirects back to home page. Now the reason why this one's a response redirect and the others are just hide and show is because if I just did a hide and show, when you went back to the home page, it would still have all the URL parameters. It would have like loads of stuff in here that the website would know what to do with, you know, and then it would just automatically bring you back to this form. So the reason I've done a response redirect is a way of clearing out all the URL parameters that were put in before. And that's just, you know, something I put in there to make sure it stays stable and working. So that's my app. Thanks very much for watching. I'll just close this down, and that's all that down. Right, thanks very much.